What's up, guys? Chris with Croft CNC here. Um, I I did a live yesterday on the CNC for Newbies um, Facebook groups, the official and the unofficial Facebook groups, talking about some stuff, and I got like three messages right after. What is that big round white tube? And they were talking about this, and I was surprised at how observant people are, but it was really cool that somebody asked because uh, this is something that gets overlooked a lot. Um, so I do a lot of fixturing, and I use my CNC router. Um, this is a testament to the CNC for Newbies products because I mill out a lot of aluminum on them. Okay, and the problem with milling aluminum on a router is typically the router bed is MDF, which is medium density fiberboard. It's basically sawdust and glue. When you mill aluminum, you need lubrication and air. So we utilize an airstream with a misting of some type of lubricant to cool the tool and clear the chips. Okay. Uh, Liquid and MDF don't mix. So what you end up with is typically something that uh, you get swelling on your MDF, and you have to replace your spoil board, or you have to have a special spoil board for metals. Um, with my setup, I don't have to do that because I buy these HDPE high density polyethylene sheets whenever I find them, or if I have to, I order them, and I have them in different thicknesses around the shop. Um, but basically, I buy it in a 4x8 tube. The You just cut the tape here, and it unravels into a big sheet. I then take that sheet. I use a jigsaw, and I just do a rough cut on it. And what I'll actually do is I will drill holes in the HDPE to my fixture, my MDF fixture plate or my spoil board, and then that polyethylene sheet I can mill into it and create a hold down fixture that is able to take on the coolant liquid without warping or getting it on the MDF and warping that. Um, so before I start out, what I will do is typically I'll cover my MDF with a um, like a roofing tape or a Tyvek tape. Um, I'll cover that, and then I'll figure out what screw holes I'm going to use on my MDF, and I'll go ahead and mark that on the polyethylene, and I'll make it bigger than what my actual um, part's going to be. Okay, so basically, I take this, I cut it into a rectangle that's going to be wider than my part, taller than my part. So the aluminum is only sitting on the HDPE. Um, and then whenever you do that, the liquid spraying onto the aluminum um, hits the HDPE and just kind of sits there until you clean it up. Um, it's just a misting unit, so it's nothing. You're not doing flood coolant with it, where you're just spraying coolant all the time at a high rate or anything like that. With this, you're just basically misting like for lack of a better term, a WD-40 or something onto it, onto the aluminum. Um, so I'll actually make these different fixtures and cover my MDF so that my MDF doesn't swell. And when my MDF doesn't swell, I don't have to replace it as often. If I don't have to replace it as often, I save money. That's the way that I do it. Now, typically will not do this extent for anything one-off. I'll typically just put another piece of MDF on the spoil board, mill out the pocket for it for the aluminum blank, put it on there, hold it down, and cut. But if I'm going to be doing production parts, that's what this big white tube is. It actually unravels. It is just sheets of HDPE. You can also, if you're doing small pieces, a little pro tip is you can buy polyethylene cutting boards from Walmart, from Home Depot, any of the big box stores. You can actually get large cutting boards, and they're usually pretty thick. You can get them in like 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch thickness. Those work really well for fixtures too. Okay. But B&R Customs actually has one of my mini mills, and in the cabinet that I sent with them, there's actually fixtures to cover up my tooling plates, so that it saves on tooling plates, so you don't scar up your fixture plates on the mills. That's another thing that I use it for is spacing. So like if I'm doing my spoil boards for the CNC for Newbies routers, for the big routers, what I'll actually do is I'll save all my offcuts of these. I'll put them underneath of the MDF, and then I'll mill my pockets for the T-track hold downs to go into the aluminum frame, and that will give me 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch clearance, and then I can take the HDPE out and just put it right on the frame, and now I know that it's aligned and it works well, and I never scar up the actual framing of the router. So a couple different uses, kind of a roundabout way to answer the couple of guys that asked about what is the big white tube that you see around my shop. You will see a couple of them. I have rectangles of it. I have full sheets of it and stuff like that. And basically, you just go through and cut them to size, save all your scraps because you can always use them for something, and go from there. Okay, guys. Places to get the HDPE, anywhere you can find it. I have, I actually have a couple distributors. Well, I did in Pennsylvania. I got to find some here in Miami. So that's something that you guys have to find your local areas. I had a lot of Amish around me in Pennsylvania, so getting millwood was very easy, and getting different species was very easy. Here, I don't find getting wood as easy so far, but like I said, I had distributors that would sell me rolls of HDPE, and whenever I would order it, they would just tape it up in a tube form and either deliver it to me or I could go pick it up. Um, so those are little odds and ends things that people don't really think about, but whenever you do think about it, it makes a lot of sense, and you can make those HDPE pieces for other tools in your shop, like your table saw, outfeed, infeed tables, and it's really good because it's slippery. So if you need to make like a feed through table and you don't want to use a bearing setup or anything, you can actually use the HDPE and use the smooth side instead of the textured side, and you can make joiner, table saw, planer in-feed, out-feed tables that are low friction. Okay, so these tubes actually serve a lot of purposes in my shop. Um, and man, I can't talk enough about them. Um, I personally, I love them, but that's just me. Uh, you know, if you guys have anything um, that like you use in the shop for similar function, go ahead and comment down below. Um, I I know I'm probably going to get, why don't you just make aluminum fixtures or something like that? Well, I used to, but now the cost of aluminum keeps rising and rising and rising. Whenever I use milling fixtures, I use Mike 6 and I get it Blanchard ground, and it's very expensive. So, unless I'm doing 1,000 piece runs uh, multiple times, I'm not going to waste the money on that. Basically, I'm going to keep going through uh, using HDPE and using get by methods. Uh, do whatever it takes to get by. um, Another thing you could possibly use, and I've done it for small run stuff, is the the sealing tape that I talked about. You can use that. You can shellac the surface of MDF, wood, whatever it may be, um, and try and make kind of like an impermeable uh, layer between the MDF. Uh, but if you somehow puncture through it, you're basically done. You know, the MDF's going to swell because the moisture gets into it, and it's going to keep falling apart or bubbling or whatever until it just becomes useless. So those are kind of like one-time use fixtures. Um, but this fixture, it makes it very easy, and you can go ahead and do what you got to do with it. So that's my Sunday morning uh, tip. And let's see, Matt Yule's on here. Speak to us, and he just resurfaced his wasteboard, and it was a mess. And yes, anytime you resurface a wasteboard or you surface it for the first time, it's going to be a mess. Um, you know, it is what it is. That's the perks of doing it the way you do it. That's why you have aluminum beds. That's why you have sacrificial sheets, is so you can resurface them and cut into them. And whenever you do that, that's that's really what it's for. So it's gonna make a mess, and you just move on with your day. But Matt's doing some really awesome stuff. He's got some awesome plaques. If you guys are on Facebook and you don't know Matt, go search out Matthew Yule on Facebook and take a look at some of his products. He's serving our country. He's doing some spectacular things, and I really appreciate the stuff that he's doing. Um, so Sarge, thank you very much for your service, and keep up the good work on your side hustle. All right. Um, Other than that, no comments coming through, uh, but you know, wanted to answer some questions for guys, and let you know, like, there are other opportunities to keep your spoil boards from being kind of ruined um, by doing aluminum cutting. Um, you don't have to use liquid coolant for aluminum cutting. It's something that I do because I come from a machining background, um, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah. Other than that, be on the lookout. We've got some machines going together. We've got the CNC for Newbies 4896 is coming up. We're putting that back together in the new Miami garage. And then as soon as I get that done, we're going to start on this. This is a 7x14 Harbor Freight mini lathe. It's actually another brand, but it's a C2 mini lathe. It has the CNC conversion for NEMA 23s. It has ball screws. It'll have spindle encoder feedback. So we'll be able to do all of our cool little add-ons for the other CNC machines, like custom standoffs and stuff like that. I'll probably make some chess pieces and do a nice aluminum and brass chess piece and go from there. So be on the lookout for that. That's it, guys. I hope you have a good one and enjoy your weekend. Peace.